Would you like to learn how to make deliciously crafted mocktails?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to be joined by special guest Wisniewski from Alice and the Magician to show us a sparkling cucumber lemonade, citrus chocolate coffee, blackberry iced tea, and a watermelon grapefruit spritzer.
Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry, and with me here is Wisniewski of Alice and the Magician. How are you, Aaron?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here, Janie.
Yeah, obviously we've known you for a bunch of years and we love Alice and the Magician. But for the folks watching at home, who is Alice and the Magician? What do you guys do?
Alice and the Magician is a flavor design company. And everything that we do is based around one single fact, that 85 to 90% of our perception of flavor, our experience of flavor, comes from smell, not as much taste as we think. And so what we do to enhance the flavor of both alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages through the art and science of aroma is create two products that you can add to your drink during making it, after, and then while you're drinking it as well.
Yeah, and we have these products here at Modernist Pantry. So we have these mists and we have the elixirs. Can you talk a little bit about what's the difference? This one looks like a perfume, this one looks like drops. What do they do and how do they work?
Sure. Hopefully you don't mind if I get a little nerdy about it.
No, we love nerdy.
So like I said, we're really focused on scent, like what is scent and how does it transform your beverage experience? Now, your sense of smell is actually very unique compared to your other senses.
Okay.
It's the only one of your senses that has a direct connection to the memory and emotion section of your brain. So it's a really important part of your eating or drinking experience. And the second is, like I said, about 85 to 90% scientifically of your flavor experience comes from smell. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're tasting food or drink, you're actually doing it in two distinct ways.
Okay.
One, before you put the food in your mouth or before you take your first sip, you're smelling through your nose, and that's called orthonosal olfaction.
Cool.
The second part is when you're actually eating or drinking, you're experiencing flavor inside your mouth, and that's called retronasal olfaction. So we developed two lines of products to work for both of those types of flavor. The mists go on the drink, just like a regular garnish, except it's kind of like a garnish on steroids.
Right.
So before you even take your first sip, you're experiencing tons of aromatics and depth and complexity, and it's signaling to your brain what flavors you're going to find in the drink.
Amazing.
The second product, our elixirs, are drops that you add to the drink as you're making it. Of course, you can add them after also. But what this does is it mixes in with the drink and really takes the flavors that are there and turns the volume way up on them, but also adds a lot of flavors that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do easily at home or even in a restaurant or a bar.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think the science behind it is so interesting. And what I really love is that I know you originally founded Alice and the Magician as a cocktail company, but we're really excited to be able to do an episode here today that's all about mocktails because it's definitely growing in popularity. More and more people are enjoying non-alcoholic beverages, but I think sometimes the mocktails fall a little flat, right? So we want to give people some exciting new recipes that they can try with your products to really bump up that experience. So we have 4 items that we're going to show you today, and Aaron's going to walk you through how to do each recipe and why exactly they work and why they are so good. All right, so let's talk about we'll just do them in order. What is the first cocktail or mocktail that we're going to cover?
So first we're going to do a mocktail that has a lot of freshness and green notes in it. And it's a nice balance of cucumber and pineapple. As you mentioned, Janie, the days of Diet Coke and bitters and soda being the only option for a mocktail are over. There are so many options if you want a low or a no alcohol drink. And using aromatics and kind of playing with textures and temperatures and flavors through science allows us to get the same type of flavor experience and same mouthfeel that you'd get from an alcoholic drink, but with no alcohol. So let's start with our first cocktail. The first ingredient in our first cocktail is a cucumber simple syrup. So we're going to add a little bit of cucumber simple syrup here. And
we both keep saying cocktail. Well, it's mocktails.
And it's mocktail, exactly. So this cucumber simple syrup is unique because you can't cook cucumbers. Well, you can, but if you cook cucumbers, they tend to get overly vegetal and they're not very fresh anymore. So what's unique about this is you make the simple syrup, and before it's completely cooled, you blend in fresh cucumbers with the skins, and that does a few things. One, the syrup itself acts as kind of a matrix to trap some of that fresh cucumber flavor. The skins give it a really beautiful green color, and the little bit of bitterness you get from the skins act as a tiny bit of almost imperceptible bitterness in the cocktail that gives you the impression that there might be alcohol in there. So it doesn't taste like alcohol, but it gives it a more robust structure.
I really like that.
The second thing we're going to do is add a little bit of pineapple juice. Now, making a good mocktail is really about balancing textures and flavors and highlighting the aromatics. So the pineapple does give a little bit of additional sweetness. It gives an additional bit of mouthfeel, and that mouthfeel is something that you do get from alcohol in traditional cocktails. You can replace it with something like pineapple juice. And then finally, we have lime juice. Acidity is the backbone to any good cocktail, mocktail, juice, anything. So it's really important to have the acidity in there and also balance the sweetness of the other ingredients. And then our final ingredient too is, this is a carbonated cocktail, so we're gonna add some spring water now, and then a little bit later on we're gonna carbonate it in the siphon.
Very cool.
Now before we do that, and even before we add ice and chill this down, we're gonna add a little bit of Thai green elixir. This is one of my favorites. This is a combination of lime leaf, ginger, lemongrass, galangal root, Thai basil, mint, and cilantro. I'm gonna add 4 drops. This is very strong, it's pretty potent, so you usually don't need more than 2, 3, 4 drops at the most. It was inspired by some culinary travels that I was doing in southern Thailand and exploring the fresh markets there for creative inspiration, and came across a all green market there, and these were all the herbs, just fresher than you could ever possibly imagine.
And I can smell them from here, like the aroma is wafting through the room right now.
It's very green, it's very fresh, and what I like about this one is even though I listed all those ingredients, not one of them really stands out as kind of like overpowering any of the others. And so that is what I like about it. It just gives really, really fresh green aroma.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about your products is that everything is small batch made in Vermont, you know, so it's not like commercial. You got it's really high quality ingredients made with love.
Made with love, lots and lots of love.
Yeah.
It's time to carbonate the cocktail.
All right.
So.
There you go. Here you go.
Booby traps.
Oops.
So we're just going to strain this in here.
There you go.
And one of the reasons that carbonation is so important in mocktails is texture, right? The little tiny bubbles add a ton of texture and mouthfeel, and that can take the place of the texture and mouthfeel that you would get from a spirit. Another reason is that carbonation does add just a tiny bit of carbon dioxide, of CO2, and that little bit of acidity that is naturally found in carbon dioxide gives it some more structure and balance as well.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So we're going to release some of the excess CO2 in here. And then charge it one more time, and that will allow the liquid inside to absorb as much carbonation as possible. There's one, then perfect. All right, so we're going to set that there for just a moment while we get some fresh ice for our new cocktail. And once again, the colder it stays, the more the carbonation will stay absorbed, and it will provide a much, much richer mouthfeel, and also will taste a lot more refreshing.
That's cool. And just for the folks who want to do this at home, just a reminder that you are working with CO2 chargers in this case and not the N2O chargers.
Excellent point. You'll get a very different experience.
A very creamy drink.
Okay, so we're ready.
Yay, exciting.
Can you smell that? And we'll strain it one last time right into our finished glass.
That smells amazing already.
And you always want to keep just a little bit of space at the top. You don't want to fill it all the way to the top. And what that does is leaves headspace. And the headspace is important because that's where your nose goes while you're sipping the cocktail. And we can fill that space with more aroma. So we have an English cucumber aromatic here that's really fresh, really green, and it takes that kind of delicate, fresh cucumber flavor and just, like I said, turns the volume way up on it.
Okay.
So 2 to 3 mists, about 5 or 6 inches away from the glass, and then all of that space in there is filled with cucumber aroma. And one little garnish in there.
That looks amazing.
There you go.
Yes. That is so tasty. That is so good. Oh, I didn't take the pause to sniff first. My apologies. Yeah, it smells like you put a whole cucumber in here. Oh, it is so good. I could drink this all day. But we have 3 more cocktails to go.
Click on one of these cards to check out another recipe from this episode.